Well, one of Mexico's most violent cartels is suspected of leaving some gruesome warnings as it looks to expand its power into new areas.
The tussle for power and the fight over territories among Mexican drug cartels has taken the lives of more people than you can ever imagine.
This week's morbid find of a severed leg dangling off a bridge is just among a string of recent incidents involving body parts, all suspected to be the work of the new Familia Michoacana, among the most ruthless of Mexican cartels.
Some of the victims who died in their war were not just killed and left to die, they were butchered, and their body parts were hung at strategic points around the city.
On Wednesday, a severed leg was spotted dangling off a pedestrian bridge in Toluca. On the pavement below, a man's torso, and nearby a handwritten sign from Familia Michoacana.
Imagine waking up one morning and finding body parts strewn across your neighborhood, with signs from a violent drug cartel claiming responsibility. This is not a scene from a horror movie, but a reality for many people living in Mexico, where narco-related violence and insecurity are rampant. In this video, we will explore one of the most shocking and gruesome incidents that occurred recently in Toluca, the capital of the state of Mexico. The Familia Michoacana is one of the most notorious drug cartels and organized crime syndicates based in the Mexican state of Michoacan. They are known to produce large amounts of methamphetamine in secret laboratories in Michoacan. Methamphetamine, also known as crystal meth or ice, is a highly addictive and dangerous synthetic substance that affects the central nervous system and can cause severe physical and psychological damage.
For the past decade, the brothers have led the new Familia Michoacana, specializing in production and smuggling. The cartel is also behind the rainbow fentanyl pills, which were developed to target children. But extortion is their bigger moneymaker.
The cartel was founded by Carlos Rosales Mendoza, a close associate of Ociel Cardenas, the former leader of the Gulf Cartel. The Gulf Cartel is one of the oldest and most powerful drug cartels in Mexico, with a strong presence in the northeastern states bordering the U.S. Rosales Mendoza broke away from the Gulf Cartel in the early 1980s after a dispute with Cardenas' successor, Jorge Eduardo Costilla Sanchez. He then teamed up with Nazario Moreno Gonzalez, Jose de Jesus Mendez Vargas, Enrique Plancarte Solis, and Servando Gomez Martinez to form what would be La Familia Michoacana, or the Michoacan family. But in 2006, Rosales Mendoza had a dispute with one of his allies, Moreno Gonzalez, over the leadership of the cartel. This dispute caused Mendoza to exit La Familia Michoacana cartel and rejoin the Gulf Cartel, making Moreno Gonzalez the new leader of La Familia Michoacana cartel. However, Mendoza was arrested in 2004 for orchestrating a prison break to free his former boss, Ociel Cardenas Guillen. He spent 10 years in prison and was released in 2014, but he was found dead in 2015, along with 3 other bodies, in a parking lot near a highway in Michoacan. He had been violently injured with multiple bullet holes in his head by unknown assailants. Meanwhile, as Nazario Moreno Gonzalez, who was also nicknamed El Mas Loco, took over the leadership of La Familia Michoacana cartel, he preached his organization's divine right to eliminate enemies without mercy. He carried a Bible of his own sayings and insisted that his army of traffickers and hitmen avoid using the illegal substances they produced and sold. He also claimed to have direct communication with God and Jesus and used religious references and symbols to justify his actions. He was considered a charismatic and ruthless leader who inspired loyalty and fear among his followers. However, Moreno Gonzalez was unalived by the Mexican security forces in 2010, but his death was not confirmed until 2014, when his body was found in a crossfire incident. Still, some of his followers believed that he was still alive and revered him as a saint. They even built shrines and statues in his honor and celebrate his birthday every year. They also formed a splinter group called the Knights Templar, which adopted a medieval theme and a code of honor based on Moreno Gonzalez's teachings. After Moreno Gonzalez's suspected death in 2010, the cartel split into 2 factions. One, led by Jose de Jesus Mendez Vargas, known as El Chango, and the second faction led by Servando Gomez Martinez, known as La Tuta. Both cartel leaders were considered major drug lords by the Mexican and U.S. authorities and had multi-million-dollar bounties on their heads, which led to their eventual arrest. While Mendez Vargas was arrested in 2011, Gomez Martinez was captured in 2015. The current leaders of La Familia Michoacana cartel are two brothers, Jose Alfredo Hurtado Olascuaga, known as El Fresa, and Johnny Hurtado Olascuaga, known as El Pez. Like their former bosses, they're both wanted by Mexican and U.S. authorities for illegal substance trafficking and other crimes.
Just last year, the Treasury Department announced sanctions against the current leaders, 50-year-old Johnny Hurtado and his 38-year-old brother, Jose Alfredo.
They have continued to operate the cartel despite the arrests and death of their predecessors and have maintained their stronghold in Michoacan. The cartel has been involved in brutal conflicts with other gangs, such as the Knights Templar, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, and the Sinaloa Cartel. These conflicts have resulted in thousands of deaths and displacements in Michoacan and neighboring states.
The cartel's constant threats of extortion, kidnapping, and violence are among the reasons many residents have fled the region, where much of Familia Michoacana's brutality is too gruesome to describe.
Many residents have fled their homes and become refugees in their own country.
Todas esas comunidades por los grupos armados que han querido entrar, han entrado, pues se puso feo, pues como decimos nosotros, se puso feo y pues nosotros nos desplazaron.
They left everything.
¿Qué dejó atrás en la casa?
Todo. Todo dejé.
Their loved ones or entire families were also wiped out in the wars between La Familia Michoacana cartel and their rivals.
Mi hija y sus niñas. Entonces estos señores las mataron, llegaron y las mataron, las dos. Aquí tengo las pruebas.
Some were murdered in the most gruesome way.
Los metieron a la camioneta y les metieron lumbre.
And these people can't ever go back to their homes again.
Y la tristeza más pues que para regresar, ¿cómo? Si esa gente ahí sigue y si llegamos pues nos van a matar pues más ahorita.
This cartel has also targeted police and government officials, as well as local residents who oppose or resist their rule. They have used violence, extortion, abduction, and murder to impose their control over the territory and the population. What's worse is they are untouchable because they have corrupted and infiltrated some of the local authorities, making it difficult for the state and federal forces to combat them. What makes this cartel very dangerous and different from other Mexican drug cartels is its use of religious symbolism and propaganda to justify its actions and recruit new members. They have claimed to be a divine justice group that fights against evil and corruption. La Familia Michoacana cartel is also famous for displaying the body parts of their victims as a way of intimidating their enemies and sending messages, a coded message.
Hanging legs and bodies from bridges and things of that nature. They do that to intimidate their enemies, especially rival cartel and police officers that may want to engage with them.
One such brutal and gruesome display of their victims' body parts across the city happened on July 6th, 2023, in the city of Toluca. Toluca is one of the largest and most populous cities in Mexico, with more than 2 million inhabitants. It is also an important economic and cultural center, as well as the seat of the state government. Toluca is known for its colonial architecture, its museums, its parks, and its festivals. It's also a popular tourist destination, especially for visitors who want to explore the nearby Nevado de Toluca volcano. However, Toluca is also a city that has been plagued by crime and violence between 2022 and 2023. Current statistics show that Toluca has a crime index of 64.31% as against 35.39% safety index. The city has been a battleground for various drug cartels who have fought for control over the lucrative narco market and smuggling routes in the region.
It's a region of Mexico where residents are always either in mourning or living in fear. La Familia Michoacana has terrorized areas outside of Mexico City for decades, leaving buildings riddled with bullets and a trail of bodies and body parts. Now it's ruthlessly pushing to also rule Mexico City.
On July 6th, 2023, around 7 a.m., a gruesome scene shocked and horrified the people of Toluca. A human leg was found hanging from a pedestrian bridge near the city center, along with handwritten signs signed by La Familia Michoacana cartel. The signs read, "This is what happens to those who betray us, and we are here, and we are not leaving." The trunk of the body was left on the street below, and other parts of the body were found later in another neighborhood.
On Wednesday, a severed leg was spotted dangling off a pedestrian bridge in Toluca. On the pavement below, a man's torso, and nearby a handwritten sign from Familia Michoacana.
The victim was reportedly a man aged between 35 and 40 who had been violently hurt and his body maimed before being murdered. The authorities did not reveal his identity or his possible connection to the cartel. Parts of at least one other body were found elsewhere in the city, also with signs from the cartel.
Hours later, the parts of at least 2 more bodies found in another neighborhood.
Another was found in a burning car on the north side of the city. The residents were in a panic because they knew it could be them or their loved ones dangling off that bridge next. But the mayor of Toluca appealed for calm and said that the issue of crime brings everyone together and that everyone has to fight it. He also said that he had requested more support from the state and federal governments to deal with the security situation in Toluca. However, this grim discovery came just a day after the bodies of 4 men and 2 women were found lying in the residential Palmas neighborhood in Apodaca, a suburb of Monterrey, after being brutally executed. All the victims appeared to have died from bullet wounds and had their hands tied with cords. The men and women, all between the ages of 30 and 35 years old, had been abducted in 2 vehicles, lined up against a wall on the banks of the Topo Chico stream, and then fired upon with a volley of bullets. One of the victims, whose torso was exposed, had a tattoo visible on his ribs with the initials CDN, suggesting a possible connection to the Northeast Cartel, a criminal organization that is currently battling rivals Gulf and Sinaloa cartels for influence in Nuevo León. Monterrey, just like Toluca, was hit by a wave of cartel violence in the 2010s, but had been somewhat more peaceful between 2015 and 2020. However, Nuevo León suffered heavy violence under the Zetas cartel in the last 3 years and saw an uptick in brutal violence last year, including the horrifying death of an 18-year-old law student, Debani Escobar, in Monterrey. Between 2006 and 2023, the Mexican government has recorded more than 350,000 murders, most of them blamed on organized crime, since the launch of a controversial military operation to combat illegal substance trafficking in 2006. Meanwhile, the Toluca attacks have caused widespread fear and outrage among the citizens of Toluca and its environs. Many people demanded justice and security from the authorities, while others called for vigilante action against the cartel. The incident also attracted national and international attention, as it was one of the most shocking and gruesome acts of violence committed by a drug cartel in Mexico in recent years. Many people tried to figure out the possible motive for this attack, which raised the question, why Toluca? One obvious motive for the cartel's attack was to assert its dominance and presence in Toluca, which is a strategic location for illegal substance trafficking and smuggling. Toluca is close to Mexico City, the largest and most populous city in the country, as well as a major consumer and transit point for drugs. Toluca is also connected to other important cities and states by highways and roads, making it easier for the cartel to transport and distribute their products. However, Toluca is also a contested territory, where other cartels, such as the Jalisco New Generation Cartel and the Sinaloa Cartel, have tried to gain control and influence. These cartels have been involved in violent clashes with La Familia Michoacana, resulting in the deaths and displacement of many people. La Familia Michoacana may have wanted to send a message to their rivals, as well as to the authorities, that they are still powerful and active in Toluca, and that they are not afraid to use extreme violence to defend their turf. Another possible motive for the attack was to create fear and chaos among the population of Toluca, which is one of their main sources of income and support. The cartel has been known to extort money from businesses and residents in exchange for protection or services. They have also recruited or coerced people into working for them as informants, couriers, or hitmen. By displaying body parts in public places, the cartel may have wanted to intimidate and terrorize the people of Toluca, making them more submissive and compliant to their demands. This attack is just one out of hundreds of other cartel-related wars that are taking people's lives daily across the cities of Mexico and displacing others from their homes. These senseless acts of violence show the brutality of the drug cartels, as well as the insecurity and vulnerability of people living in Mexico. They also raise questions about how to prevent or resolve such violence and how to improve the security situation in Mexico so that the residents can sleep with both eyes closed. But do you really think these beasts with no value for human lives can be stopped or contained? Do you think there will ever be a way to make Mexico safe again and flush out these drug cartels? Please share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay safe.